What's up, guys? My name's Upshift, and it's gonna be my first vlog. I figured I would talk about owning a bike at my age. I'm actually 18, but I bought my very first bike and had my license when I turned 16. As many of you know, you gotta go through the MSF course, and in Illinois, where I live, you have to take the MSF course, completely pass that, and then go to the DMV and take both those tests there. So about 2 months into my 16th birthday, 2 months into my 16-year-old, my dad's ridden all my life. He, big Harley guy, he rides constantly. And they would leave, him and my mom would leave on Sundays and just ride all day. And at the age that I could stay home alone, that's when they started doing it. So about 4 or 5 years, they would just be gone on Sunday riding and whatnot. And they did little trips here and there. And I never understood what riding meant to them. I never rode dirt bikes when I was younger. I had zero experience with a motorcycle. So about 2 months into my 16, my dad goes, "Hey, do you want a motorcycle?" 16-year-old me's like, hell yeah, I want a motorcycle. So he signed me up for the MSF course. And like I said, I've never touched a motorcycle before. I've been on the back of them with my dad, but I never rode. And as I got to the MSF course, it's a 3-day course, and they got the first day is a half day on a Friday. And they do some book work and whatnot. But when you come in Saturday, they say, alright, who's had experience on motorcycles? And they put you on kind of the bigger bikes they have there. They're all 250s, but some of them are taller dirt bikes instead of like Honda Rebels. And a bunch of the class, there was about 12 people in my class, a bunch of them raised their hands. And very mixed class. I was the youngest person there, as I said, I was 16. So, a few of them raised their hands and they got their bikes and whatnot. And I got on this little dinky bike. And I think it was a Honda Rebel. Might have been some kind of other 250 Honda. But first day went well. I watched M13. I'm sure a bunch of you know who Morda 13 is. I watched his video on how to ride a motorcycle. And he kind of went through the steps of explaining how the clutch works and whatnot. And I mentally prepared myself for this day. I was so excited to get my motorcycle license. And so as we got there, they teach you the same stuff Mordeath did, but I got to experience it hands-on this time, and long story short, I ended up acing that class and being one of the best riders there out of a few 40-year-old guys that are just now getting around to actually getting their license that have been riding for years. So I aced the class, and to get your license, you have to get a card in the mail from MSF saying that you completed the course. Well, it takes 4 days for the card to get there. So the card came in on Thursday night. Thursday night, I went into my DMV, and in Illinois, you can get, if you have your card and you just take the written part of the questions, you can get your learner's permit, which if someone that has their license can see you riding, you can ride with them. So my dad, we went in and he let me do the written part, and that's all we had time for. We got it, and I got home, and me and my dad did about 80 miles on my mom's Honda 250. And man, I loved it. I loved every single second of it. But I still didn't fully grasp what my parents felt, or I didn't feel like I did. So that next day, I went in Friday morning, went into the DMV, 8 o'clock, I was the very first person there. I rode in behind my dad. He was in his truck, he had to work that day. But I rode in behind him, and flawless, never killed the bike. My mom's bike, it was an older bike, so it had some carb issues, and it was struggling on its own accord, but nothing I didn't have any error with it. So I get there and I do the TMV test, and it's pretty basic, same thing you did at the MSF, and it was still fresh in my mind, so I didn't have any problem with it. So I aced that, and like I said, since my dad had to work, he left. We got there at like 7:50, and they didn't open until 8. And it takes a little bit to do the course. Well, my dad went to work. You know, it was either you pass the test and you come get me, or I have to call him and he has to come pick me up, you know what I mean? And so as I get done with the test, you know, I'm super excited. You know, I passed it. I never failed any, you know, I didn't fail any of the tests or whatever. And so I jump on the bike, you know, and I run down to where my dad's working. And, you know, I put it around town a little bit. This was over the summer, so I didn't have school at the time. So the whole, you know, the whole day was to me. And so I rode around for the rest of the day till about 4 o'clock. And actually, we were going to go out and buy my brand new bike. I know a bunch of people frown on buying brand new bikes as a first bike, but it was available. So we rode out to Quincy, Illinois, which is about an hour from where I live, and rode there the whole hour on my mom's bike. Picked up my CBR 500R, and I rode home. I mean, all in one day of owning my license, I did well over 130 miles. And that was awesome. You know, you're on a brand new bike. You guys know how it is to get your brand new bike. And I mean, I was in love. It was the greatest day of my life. And so I rode home, and I know a bunch of people, they're scared to get on their main roads their first day and whatnot. But it's like something clicked in my head, and riding was a part of me. It was amazing. I rid for weeks straight, you know, just in the main part of my town. Granted, my town's not very big. I only live in a 20,000 town. But it looks like we lost someone. I don't know where he's at. I don't know what happened. But living in a 20,000 person town, you know, fairly big town, but you know, the traffic's still pretty good, but it's not anything huge. But I rode during, you know, rush hour and all that, and I did that, you know, day one. That was no problem for me. So as I started riding more and more and more, I had a job, but it was, you know, at 16 you don't have a very huge job where you work a bunch of hours. So I ended up putting 5,000 miles on that bike in about 2 months. And you know, doing so many miles in such a short period of time on that sport bike, I have to tell you, the CBR 500, I can't imagine a better starting bike, but if you want to go any farther than a few hundred miles a day, you don't want that bike at all. The highway, it kind of rings out, you know, you still got some power. It'll do 100. I think they're limited at 108, but highways around me are 70, so we're going 75, 80, and you were just out of power. And so my dad, a big Harley guy, he said, hey, let's go trade it in for a Sportster. You know, at the time I was like, all right, yeah, sure. You know, I liked Harley. They were cool looking bikes. I got nothing against Harleys. So we went back to the same dealer. The dealer was a Honda and Harley dealer. And, you know, I called him up. He said, hey, I got a Sportster here for you. You planning on trading in your CBR? And I said, yeah. He asked me how many miles I had on it, and I said 5,000. He said, what? You know, because 5,000 miles, 2 months at 16 years old, that's incredible. So, rode over there. I don't know, it took about a week to figure out if we really wanted to do it. Picked up my Harley, and, you know, about this time, school had just started. So, owning a bike at 16, you know, having both a sport bike and still being 16 and having a Harley later on in that year, you know, people loved it. All my friends, you know, they were, you know, hooing and hawing, oogling the bikes, and they all wanted to sit on it, and they all wanted to ride it. I didn't let them ride it, but I let them sit on it, you know, because we'd hang out in parking lots like teenagers do. And, you know, they'd be sitting on it, you know, asking me to start it up and asking me to take them for rides and stuff. And I had no problem doing that. That was awesome. I loved hanging out with my friends. That was you know, doing that really broadened my life, actually, I guess. I don't know, I've been really a guy to go out and do parties and all that, so the friends I did have, you know, we'd sit up and play video games all night. But as we continued on, you know, it was just like, I got out more, I was staying out later, and I was just talking to people, you know, because the bike gave me something to talk about. And I don't know, I owned the Harley for about 4 or 5 months, and I only did about 5,000 miles on that. And I did some custom work to it. I got it painted, and I got some bars on it, and put some loud pipes on it. And yeah, loud pipes, typical Harley douchebag pipes. They're really loud. But that was really fun, and I ended up having that bike, and I turned 17 with that bike. But shortly after, I went and back to my same dealer, and I wanted to go back to the sport bike scene, and I was able to pick up a 2012 CBR 600 RR. Never been off the lot, but I was able to pick that up for pretty cheap. I got really good resale or trade-in on that Harley that I had, and I mean, it just made sense to get it, and it had 1 mile on it, I think it was. So, you know, having a super sport bike at the age of 17, a lot of people don't agree with that. But I actually, you know, handled it very well, in my opinion. I never really got out of control on it, you know. By this time, I had already racked up about 12,000 miles worth of riding. And so I kind of, you know, I knew how to ride, and this is all within a very short amount of time. So, I mean, I gained experience really quickly. And actually, the very first weekend, I think I picked that bike up on like a Tuesday. That weekend, I did a 3-day ride, did about 900 miles with a big group of Harley riders. And I mean, that was my break, and I went up north to Savannah, Illinois, and went into Wisconsin for a little bit, and I mean, it was pretty awesome. Rode that. I'm on a trend of bikes where I get 5,000 miles and I get a new one. The Harley wasn't brand new. It was a 08 or 09, but the CBR, like I said, it was a 12, but never went off the lot. And so about 5,000 miles, or about 4,000 miles in, I mean, I have made trips to, I've gone from Kansas City, like from where I live, I went to Kansas City and came back in one day. I did about 700 miles in one day on that bike. We left out one morning. I went, my cousin lives out there. I got barbecue and I drove home. I mean, it's 650 to 700 miles all in one day on a CBR. You know, I put an exhaust on it, I put a Two Brothers on it. I didn't really get to do much else to it though. I just didn't have it for the time, and like I said, my job wasn't very good. I worked at a Subway making like $8.25 an hour. You know, that exhaust was $550, $600, so it was a pretty good hit to my bank account. But I was able to get that, and you know, I had friends help me install it, and having a Super Sport, like I said, it's 6 or 17, I guess. You know, everybody knows and like can see a Super Sport and like, oh god, that's so fast. So all the guys were like, oh my god, you got a Super Sport, you know, let's race, blah 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 blah. I never really raced it. I mean, I got up to 100 a few times, being stupid on the highway, you know, just doing a first and second pull. But me and my dad went out to Arkansas this like 3 days before my senior year. Me and my dad drove down to Arkansas. We did a 3-day trip there, and in total we did about 1,200 miles. And I come back into town, and going for my first day of senior year, it's on a Monday. I drive in, and the way my high school is laid out, there's a left turn to go to drop off younger kids, like parents drop off kids, and then if you don't take that left, it keeps going back to the kid parking lot. Well, the girl in front of me didn't take a left, so I kept driving. She slams on her brakes in the middle of the road, and I just couldn't. There was a turn lane for the people turning left. She slams on her brakes, people in the turn lane, she's in front of me, and there's a curb to the right. And long story short, I ended up running into the back of her. I'm sure I'll elaborate on how that wreck actually went down in another video. But I ended up totaling out that bike. And I mean, I just hit 5,000 miles on it in 2 months exactly. 2 months and 2 days exactly. I hit 5,000 miles on that bike, and the next thing I know, it's gone. But I posted it on Facebook. I had to go to the hospital for it. It didn't really beat me up too bad, but you know, we had to get everything checked out. We wanted to make sure I didn't have anything to my neck and whatnot. But I was able to walk out of the hospital about an hour and a half later, and I missed the first day of senior year. But we had to deal with insurance for a little bit. It was my fault because I ran into the back of her. But you know, my parents understood what happened, and I mean, it was just a city situation. And honestly, if I was in my car, if I was on either of my other 2 bikes, it would have happened the same exact way. It was my fault for following too close, but like I said, she slammed on the brakes in the middle of nowhere, and no one would have expected it, because if you have, you know, very first day of school, when you're driving, everybody's, you know, pretty much lined up 10 feet between each other, going 20, you know, and she slammed up her brakes, and the people behind me had to slam on their brakes, and it was just a bad situation overall. But after that, I dealt with insurance for a while, and they were able to get me X amount of dollars back, and I thought about going back to a Harley, but I really didn't want to lose the agility of a sport bike. I didn't really want it so much because of the speed of how fast these go, because like I said, I don't really play with top speed too much. But it just, my Harley was scraping pegs everywhere I went, and it was douchebag loud, and it just wasn't what I wanted. So I looked for another CBR 600, and I didn't really find anything that I really liked. And I'm weird, I like to have my bikes brand new, because I like saying that every single mile on that bike is mine. Now the Harley I got with 2,000 miles on it. It was like an 08 or 09, like I said. So the guy on it before me didn't do very much miles. And that was actually one big thing that bothered me about the Harley, was I couldn't say that all those miles were mine. And I know it sounds stupid, but I don't know, it's just something about me that I wanted. And we have a Ducati dealership in the capital. I live pretty close to Springfield, which is the capital of Illinois, not Chicago. And so I rode down, and I checked out Ducatis, and they had the A21 Monster that just came out. And I checked it out, and I didn't really like it too much. It didn't fit. And then the FZ09s were just coming out, and I went and checked out that, and because they were so brand new, and you know, everybody loved them so much, they were constantly sold out. And then I found Triumph, and I know everybody rants and raves about the Street Triple. So I checked it out, and the dealer gave me a good price on this baby right here. Got this color scheme. It's this color scheme I wanted. I got a few extra parts for it. I got the aero exhaust on it that he threw in for free. Is like, I was trying to talk him down, and I was trying to ask him if he'd waive the dealer like shipment fee, and he said he couldn't do it because these bikes do come straight from the UK. So he's like, and they had a Street Triple R and they had the Street Triple, and the Street Triple had the aero exhaust. He said, we'll just switch the R, we'll just switch the exhaust, and that'll do it. And I said, hell yeah, because that's a $700 exhaust roughly. And so we did that, and I've had this thing ever since. And to sum it all up, owning a super sport bike, I'm now 18, owning a super sport bike for a year and a half total, I mean, I guess you can count this as a super sport at 675 cc's. Sure, it doesn't redline at 15 grand, but I mean, this thing still hauls like my CBR did. But having a bike this powerful at my age, while a lot of people don't agree with it, you know, I gotta say, if you're mild-tempered like me, you don't really get out and do stupid stuff, it's definitely a good bike. You know, I cruise on this bike. I put so many miles on all my bikes in such a short amount of time that I feel like I have the experience and the throttle control and all that to, you know, be able to handle this bike. And, you know, I said I took the CBR out to Arkansas. We actually went up in the mountains, and, well, you know, I wasn't dragging my knee or anything. I don't do that on public roads. Well, I wasn't dragging my knee or anything. I was still getting pretty good rides out of it, and, you know, I could handle it good. It was going good and whatnot. And he went off without us. You know, so I was riding, and now I have this bike, and I mean, this is up to the point where we're at now. That's kind of my backstory on everything. You know, I love this bike. There are a few things I don't like about it, but like I said, this is my very first vlog, so that'll definitely be something that comes later. Something, I don't know, something happened. They stopped behind us. Looks like something happened. I'm gonna turn around here. I know he was having trouble with his baffle. I don't know what happened exactly though. Might not be running very good. But yeah, guys, that's the end of my story. Really, owning a super sport bike at 16, 17, and 18 really hasn't been too bad for me. It's been a great few years, and I finally understand what my parents love so much about it. It's just, you know, one of the greatest things in my life, and I'll never give it up. But that's all I got for you guys. My name's Upshift. I'm going to be doing some vlogs, but mainly I do cinematic kind of videos. If you look back in my channel, you'll see a few different ones. But that's about it. See you guys later.